भूतग्रामः स एव अयं भूत्वा भूत्वा प्रलीयते रात्रि आगमे अवशः पार्थ प्रभवति अहरागमे. Hello friends. Friends, this is the 19th shlok of the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and today we will understand this shlok in detail. So let's first go over its meaning. So the shlok says Bhutagramah sa eva ayam, which means all the beings, they certainly hear Bhutva Bhutva Praliyate, which means having happened and happened are disintegrated. Ratri Agame Avashah Partha, which means in the coming of night being compelled, O Partha, Pravavati Ahar Agame, which means to come under the influence at the advent of the day. So now Sri Krishna is talking about the situation of all the beings in the cyclical universe that he is describing over here. And what he says is that during the time of the day of Brahma, all the beings, they happen and happen again, which means that they are born and then they die and then they are born again and then they die. And so they basically are born and they die and they are born again in this universe during the time of the day of Brahma. But then as the night arrives, they are all disintegrated and they are not in control. Basically, they without being in control, they are all disintegrated and they go into the unmanifest, only to come back to manifest again when the next day of Brahma comes over here. So basically, this point of view is not the point of view which is been described in other traditions. And so if somebody really tells you, that all the religious texts, they actually speak about one and the same thing, then you can argue with them that no, they do not, because this is not the outlook that is presented in Quran and Bible, for example. So in Quran and Bible, they don't talk about beings being born again and again. They talk about a linear universe. They say that this universe came into existence around 4000 BC when God created this universe, and then after that the universe is just basically moving linearly in the forward direction, and all the beings who come over here, they only live one life, and in that one life they are judged on their behavior, and then based on their behavior they then will either be provided the heaven or they will be provided the hell at the time of the judgment day when this universe will be destroyed. And after that, the beings will just live in whatever place they have been designated to for eternity. So that is the kind of thing that they mention in the other traditions, while in the Indian tradition and over here in Bhagavad Gita, that is not what has been said. It's a static universe which comes into existence and then goes back into unmanifest, then comes into manifest, then goes back into unmanifest. In all the beings also, they are born and then they die, then they are born again, then they die, and so the cycle keeps on going. So it's a cyclical way of looking at things and not really the linear way of looking at things. So in Hinduism, people are not really looking for a judgment day, or people are not really looking for that one final thing after which there'll be a static universe going into the eternity. So that is what is the difference, and this difference basically makes a lot of difference in the point of view of how people really look at things. I mean, this is the reason why certain traditions, they are basically looking for that one judgment day and then that place in the heaven for eternity and things like that. In the Sanatana tradition, that is not really the case. Now this point of view of the other traditions, wherein they think that the universe will come to an end and that's it. After that, everybody will live eternally in one particular location forever. It raises a lot of question, and the questions can be, for example, right now we know that we have seen the fossils of beings which go back millions of years back, while this tradition, it says that the universe came into existence in 4000 BC. So how do you explain those fossils which were seen, which can be dated to millions of years back? They don't have any answer to that. Similarly, you can ask a question that they say that there is only one life, and they also say that God is judicious. So if God is judicious and there is only one life, then why do people lead different lives? Why is one person born in a rich and educated family while the other person is born in a poor and uneducated family? Why this difference if he is judicious? Similarly, you can say that, what was God doing before 4000 BC? I mean, he made the world in 4000 BC, but what was he doing before that? Why did he decide to just start right now at this point of time? Basically, you're saying that a time has a beginning, but time doesn't really have an end. So that is the question that comes. And then again, same thing can be applied to souls also. So they talk about souls. Now, they say that after that they will be judged, and then after that they will live forever till eternity in heaven or hell. These souls will live like that. So, okay, sure, the souls will live like that. That means that soul cannot really die. But then if soul cannot really die, then soul should not have born also. Now, if soul has not really born, then before taking birth, what was the soul doing, where it was, and what was it doing? So there is no explanation for those. So these are the kind of questions that arise based on the worldview that these other traditions raise. But it's surprising that the answer for those are not really given, and still people believe in them. So, so this is something which uh, can be answered very easily by the cyclical universe, where the universe comes into manifest and then goes back into the unmanifest, and all the beings are born and they are accumulating their actions or karma, and because of that they have differences in their in their circumstances. And this also explains what was there before 4000 BC. Since there is no time which is a special time, then again, universe coming into existence is something which is random. So all these things can be answered very easily if you were to look at it from a cyclical point of view. But there is this dogma, and there is this uh, the ego of people which comes in between, because of which they are not really able to be critical about their beliefs and really search them in a critical manner. And that's why they believe in something which might not really make any logical sense, but they believe in it because they were born in it. And so it's basically that I have a very strong feeling that if they were to really understand and look at this world from a cyclical point of view, they will become much more patient, and they will become far more accepting of the other traditions. And the fear of death and the fear of what happens after death in these people will also subside if they were to look at it from this point of view. And this makes much more logical sense also. So I don't really understand why um, they are not able to understand. I have even had discussion with some people, and they have even said that, you are completely illogical. So again, I mean, it's surprising that that is what that's what they say. But I think that this cyclical way of looking at things is the reason why Sanatan Sanskriti or Sanatan tradition has always found it very easy to be accepting of others and to live in harmony with others. So that's how your outlook actually changes the way you behave. But I mean, the world is like that. I mean, humans have not really evolved to the level wherein they can overcome their dogmas. So we just have to go through it. It's a divine yajna, and try to spread the truth as much as possible. If they understand it, then that's good. If they don't understand it, then it's their loss. Eventually everybody has to end up in truth anyway, so we can just be patient on that. So I hope that I have explained this shlok well to you. With that, I'll close this video. I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.